That's a lot of high-profile names. I mean, that is some of the best that Misfits has to offer. Deen has fought some high-level guys. I do not like this fight for Fox. He's actively got that lawsuit going on in court case, and I just don't think we're going to see him fighting for a long time.
Now, you may have noticed the background change, and Biel, you're wearing a shirt right now. What is going on? Well, it's because we have a major announcement. Now, when you talk about a veteran, this is really your guy.
Hello and welcome back to Misfits News. I'm your host, as always, Ben the Bane Davis, joined by my co-host, Biel. Biel, how are you?
Ben, it's fantastic to hear from you as always. And fight fans, we have some big news updates for you today. But first, let me go through today's topics. Tommy Fury is officially returning. Alex Wassabi may be coming back to Misfits Boxing. Some other names may be making a comeback to Misfits Boxing.
Well, like you mentioned, we are just weeks away from the super card in Qatar, and I believe we have the fight week schedule. On Sunday, it all kicks off with that grand welcome party. Monday, we have the open workouts as usual. Fighters will display some work on the pads. Tuesday, it's the press conference where things might start heating up. Wednesday, the ceremonial weigh-ins, and then it all leads to fight night on Thursday. Biel, I'm very excited for this week.
I cannot wait to see how it all unfolds. And as we get more and more names being announced to this card, as we said many a times on the show, all these fights are so 50-50. I really couldn't put my money on any single one of these, and I can't wait to see how they unplay. Now, you may have noticed the background change, and Biel, you're wearing a shirt right now. What is going on? Well, it's because we have a major announcement. Tommy Fury versus Darren Till. It's official. It's been signposted. It's everywhere. And you may be asking, where's Ben Davis? Well, he's currently hiking in the mountains, so I'm going to have to break it all down for you. Well, for those of you who may not know Darren Till, which I'll be shocked if you don't know the name, let me give you a breakdown of who he is. He's currently 1-0 as a boxer, with his most recent fight taking place in 2024 on Social Knockout. Now, if that isn't enough for you, let's go to his UFC record, that being 18-5-1. And he's fought people like Donald Cerrone, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, Tyron Woodley, Whitaker, Masvidal, Duplessis. Now, when you talk about a veteran, this is really your guy. He has gone through the absolute depths. He's gone through the pedigree in the UFC, and now he's stepped into boxing, and he's starting off with a major win. However, we speak about Darren Till. He is stepping in with Tommy Fury, who is the current king of this game. He has taken out the top names, and although a lot of people criticize, he's a pro boxer. He should be fighting other pro boxers. He should be fighting for those world titles. Well, it doesn't matter, because in this fight, he's fighting Darren Till. And if we've seen a current trend when it comes to UFC fighters making a crossover into boxing, well, I think enough is said. They have been taken out. But if any man is going to break that spell, it is Darren Till. I tell you something, this guy is tough as nails. He is big, and this is going to cause Tommy Fury a lot of issues. However, when you look at Tommy Fury and his current physique and him coming off of his injury now, this is a guy to also take out Darren Till, make a message, point at KSI on the phone booth and say, KSI, where's our rematch? I want it. I want to make a statement this time. I don't want things to go to the judges. I don't want you to argue that you possibly won this fight. This is a perfect opportunity for KSI to see how Tommy Fury has progressed, to see what he needs to do to his game to ensure this time around he beats him. And Ben and I have spoken about this multiple times. We say the best way to build the fights is to have the guys on the same card. Now, KSI may not be fighting on this card, however, we know he's going to be there. So if Tommy Fury wins that fight, you better believe that they will be facing off in the center of the ring, asking for that rematch. And you know what KSI wants to do? He wants to go there, beat Tommy Fury, and go, Jake Paul, I did what you couldn't do. So that's me for the breaking news. Let's head back to Ben and Biel from a few days ago. When we talk about another household name returning to Misfits is Alex Wassabi, who recently just went on his podcast and announced that he is in negotiations with Misfits about making his highly anticipated return. He mentioned names like Deji, Jay Swingler, Joe Weller, Whindersson Nunes, Myth, and Luis Pineda. Ben, what do you make of that roster?
That's a lot of high-profile names. I mean, that is some of the best that Misfits has to offer. Luis Pineda has had his career resurgence within this promotion. Obviously, the Deji rematch is something that we want. It's something that the fans want. I think it's something that Deji wants. It's clearly, obviously, something Alex wants. So I'd love to see them run it back. but I don't know who would be first, right? Who would you put Alex Wasabi against first, and when, most importantly? Like, if we're having conversations with him right now, then the earliest we would see him is that January event that's been confirmed. And then past that, we don't know what 2025 looks like. So the big question for me is, who is first, and when are we going to get you?
I think the only fight that makes sense for me is that Deji one. Well, storylines
Mm,
for both of them. The thing that you could argue is it fair that Deji's getting a warm-up fight and Alex Wasabi's going straight into there? However, I'd counter that by saying Alex Wasabi has been more active than Deji in the past year. So therefore, they
mm.
maybe have had the same amount of training this year. But Alex Wasabi had some words to say about the Deji fight. He said,
I have a hit list.
Okay.
First, I mean, of course, there's freaking Deji.
Smash. I'll smash.
He stops making excuses. I don't think it's ever going to happen, man. I think he keeps saying, oh, after this fight, or oh, this one, or I want to right my wrongs, or oh, I got to do this, or something,
Yeah.
I got COVID, or oh, I switched coaches. Hopefully that happens one day. I don't think it will.
so it seems to be that he's of the opinion this fight will never happen.
I mean, the perfect time for the fight was the Qatar Supercard. In my mind, that was kind of a stars aligning. Hey, we get the rematch because Joey Essex, is no longer competing. I feel like that was maybe the best thing that we could have done, or best thing that was on the table in terms of possibilities. But again, we don't know who this opponent is for Deji, right? It's being announced this week. Maybe it's been announced when this video comes out. Who knows who it could be? Maybe it's better than the Wasabi rematch. We just aren't sure.
Now, before we move on to our next topic, I want you all to scan the QR code that is on your screen and get your fight ticket. November 28th is the Qatar Supercard. You simply do not want to miss this one. Gibb versus Slim, Ben Williams versus Jarvis, Jay Swingler is back in action against Nick Lamau. Get to Qatar, scan the QR code, get your tickets, and we hope to see you there. But if you're not able to get to Qatar, make sure you buy the pay-per-view live on DAZN.
Well, we mentioned returning names. I want to go to some other rumored names to be fighting real soon. One of them being our lightweight champ, Deen the Great, saying, just got off the phone call. What could it be? ...
Listen, if Deen is getting phone calls several weeks out from the Qatar Supercard, listen, if you have a pulse, if you have several brain cells, I'm sure you could piece together what that is suggesting. So will we see him in Qatar? Will we see Deen the Great lacing up the gloves against another challenger? Who knows? I do think it's very funny that during the time frame of this interim lightweight tournament, he's had 2 title defenses if he's successful in Qatar, if he is fighting. I think that defeats the whole purpose of the interim title. But that is what it is.
Well, we mentioned about who his opponent could possibly be. Now, the only other person in his weight division is Foxer G right now being active. I've seen his sparring partner actually leak saying, getting Fox ready for Qatar. I think he may have just revealed something that might be cooking here. I'm not saying it's happening. We don't know if it's happening, but I'm telling you, if I put 2 and 2 together, we might see this fight happen. I don't know about you, Ben.
Well, you could look at the evidence that's on the wall. Fox was in that screenshot that Mams Taylor put out late September. Fans identified his name being one of the ones that was potentially being tossed around. So let's assume he was in training camp. Let's assume Fox the G was prepping for this Qatar Supercard, and he was one of the names that has yet to be announced. Let's say something happens to his opponent. Let's say a problem occurs and that fight gets called off. Well, who other to call than a guy that just fought in August, right? A big name, the champion, to maybe step in and create this short notice title defense, right? And a title shot for the youngster in Fox the G, who is probably going to say, yeah, give me that fight. So I think there's a world in which we can kind of figure out that might be the fight. But again, until the official announcement, we don't know.
Let's make the official announcement. Let's say that this fight does come together. Ben, this would be a really tough test for Foxer G. He's stepped in there so far with 2 easier fights, and this would be now going against the champion, Deen the Great, who has gone against adversity and come back each time. What do you make of this matchup? Do you think this will be maybe Fox chewed a bit too much this time?
Yes. I'm going to put the analyst hat on, and this is nothing personal. Fox knows I love him, and I have a great relationship with him. But if I'm just looking at this on paper, this is a huge step up for Fox the G. No disrespect to his past opponents, but Evil Hero and Small Spartan J do not stack up to Deen the Great's level. Deen has fought some high-level guys. I do not like this fight for Fox on paper. I think Fox is taking the moment and he's seizing the opportunity, which is amazing. But you don't want to put a prospect against the champ too quick. Right? I mean, there is a lot of evidence that suggests that's not the right move historically. So for me, do I like this fight for Fox? I like that he's taking the opportunity. I like that the kid's game. I like that he's got balls, but I don't like the fight.
Let me be devil's advocate for a moment. Deen the Great, fantastic fighter. He has skills that we haven't seen yet in the lightweight division. Now, when I look at Fox G, the attributes he has over Deen is his height, is his reach, and that he is hungry. I don't think there are many people in that division that would take it so heads on like Fox G, and that I think that is the chance I give him in this fight. That is where I can see him potentially finding success, is through his hunger and his determination, because he's grown up with Misfits. He wants to prove himself to be a champion. However, that is me not saying that he's going to win this fight. It would be very tough for him to win this fight. I do believe Deen the Great obviously is the favorite because he's proved himself as well many a times. As I said, he's gone against adversity. People have had the upper rounds on him and he's countered shot with that pull right hand, which we see every single time. However, what happens every single time? The opponents drop.
Again, agree completely. And I don't want to write Fox off. I hope that that's not how it comes across. You know, he has more than a puncher's chance. He is a skilled boxer. He has attached himself to Coach Solomon and that crew and is getting miles better, you know, by the day. But again, on paper, this is just a very, very challenging fight and a massive step up in competition. But we'll see. I mean, this is what makes legends, right? This is where you truly get stars born, when they take moments like this and they come out victorious on the other side. I think the gain that Fox can realize with a win over Deen the Great, ridiculous. I mean, he instantly pole vaults himself up into the upper echelon of crossover boxing. So, you know, there's a lot to gain. Again, just on paper, man, that's a tough challenge.
You talk about the pinnacle of crossover boxing, so I'm going to mention a name, Dillon Danis. We saw doing some work with Alex Pereira and with Nina as well. It seems to be he's getting active again, and he was rolling around there with one of the greatest fighters of this year, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, he's in the gym. That's cool, but, you know, he's actively got that lawsuit going on and court case, and I just don't think we're going to see him fighting for a long time. So that's great that he's training. That's great that he's getting rounds with Alex Pereira, but doesn't do much for me. Well, that's been the latest and greatest from all of us here at Misfits News. As always, I've been your host, Ben the Brain Davis, joined by my co-host, Biel. We will see you guys in the next episode.